Welcome back to On the Chain. Happy New Year. Today we're looking at something that doesn't get reversed easily. You know what that is? A real XRP supply shock. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Over $1 billion has already moved into XRP ETFs. Exchange balances are dropping, and institutions, those big financial institutions, well, they're not asking if, they're deciding how much.
Yeah, not so much of a supply shock as the Moon Boys would want you to think. And so while capital is consolidating into assets with real utility, the political and economic systems in the West showing some serious cracks. And boy, do we have some news for you. Cameron, right out of South America: fraud, taxation, open borders, collectivism. We'll get into that. The consequences are no longer theoretical. We're kind of watching these really, Jeff, play out in real time across major cities and country.
It's impressive. And the markets are signaling one thing, politics globally are signaling something completely different. Today, we're going to connect those signals and we're going to explain why this moment right now matters. Ready to kick this thing off?
Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome back, everybody. My gosh, Jeff, it feels like forever. It's been 2.5 weeks since we've done this. We haven't done this until late last year. You know, both of us were traveling, family things, a lot of things going on. I actually went to Japan for 2 weeks and had a great time. It was fantastic. I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later, but it was really good. Look, at Art said he was notified. That's always a good thing. It's really good. Beats Smith. What's good for you? Out of North Carolina, we got XRP Plumbing, first one in here. Good morning, Chip, Jeff, XRP Army, Blue Wrench crew. Hope everybody had a fantastic start of 26. How about the Hurricanes? Yeah, they embarrassed Ohio State in college football. And then there were some other disappointments too. You know, the Bulldogs got bested by Ole Miss, and it was really great watching these playoff games. I was having a great time just sort of watching some football. Chad Nauseum in here. Happy New Year from Celebration. And we got Zober in here. Good luck in 26, everyone. Just the year has a start of like a lot of the good things are going to happen this year. We got the midterms later this year. It just feels like a good year. We got some big price predictions coming in from a notable source, which not a moon boy, but we'll get into that, Jeff. But how was your Christmas and New Year's?
It was pretty good. It's pretty good. It's in Detroit in the cold weather, and
Oh yeah,
came back here for more cold weather. So it's actually been pretty good. It's been chilly in South Florida, so it has been good though. We had a good New Year's Eve, good welcoming in for 2026. Went through a couple bottles of wine and champagne.
yeah,
And
beautiful. Yeah, my wife spent Christmas. We had a Christmas dinner at a really kind of one of these places where you in Japan. It was in Kyoto, where you get one of these little rooms, just sit down, and it was like 5 courses and lots of Japanese whiskey, lots of highballs, lots of beers were had. I had tons of Japanese whiskey. I was enjoying it quite a bit.
That's awesome.
But it was weird because we're sitting in there, and it's this little kind of tiny place, you know. And next thing you know, we're hearing Santa Baby in the background. And it's funny, Japan is decorated for Christmas everywhere. In our hotel, they had a Christmas tree all decorated up. They don't have any idea what Christmas is. They don't even know they just know the Christmas trees. They don't know it's the birth of Christ, the celebration of the birth of Christ. They don't know any of that stuff. What they know is just like Christmas and presents and Christmas trees and but dude, Christmas music was everywhere we went. Everything was decorated like Christmas. Everything said Christmas. It was so weird. And you have like less than like a 1/10 of 1% that actually celebrates it there. It was just really interesting to see.
Nice. It's good to see.
Yeah, it didn't feel like Christmas, but somehow it felt like Christmas. It was just it was kind of a weird thing, but it did feel kind of extra edgy, if you will. But it was nice. It was the first time without our girls, which we usually have some family around. So it was just my wife and I. So it was different on that sense, because usually lots of family around. And it was just us two. And man, we had an amazing time. And I'll tell you, Jeff, if you can spend every waking moment, other than the time you're in the bathroom taking a shower or, if you're together that long for 11 days, 12, whatever, 12 or 13 days we were together,
Oh, yeah.
that's your person. That is your person too, because we had a great time the entire time. But I'll tell you, it's really rare you'll spend that much time, nearly 2 weeks with somebody, nonstop. So we had a great time, laughed a lot, drank, ate. The food in Japan is just unbelievably crazy good, and it
Mhm.
basically ruined us. I mean, we could not get enough of that between everything. We're like, we'll take some of that. We'll take some of that. Yes, that's yes. The ramen, the sushi, the sashimi. It was just great. Having fish for breakfast. Fried fish for breakfast, and all the accoutrements come with it. Man, what an amazing time. No, I didn't fly into JFK. I flew directly. I flew up to Atlanta, and then it was Atlanta to directly into Haneda in Tokyo. How I felt coming back was, it felt good to be back. It's always great to be home. It's always great sleeping in your own bed. But we traveled around a little bit, stayed in 3 different hotels. Hotels were all really great. It was a Japanese chain, and I was just surprised at how inexpensive the food is. Because I was showing somebody, I was like, "This was our breakfast." Like, wow, that was a spread. I was like, "Yeah, it was $12 for both of us." I go, "Here's one we ate before. It was $8." And when we were going to pay,
Amazing.
you order everything. In cities that have that much tourism, everything's done on your phone ordering.
Mhm.
Put in. So if you wanted something else, you just click. Oh, well, this is a roll. Sure, I'll have some more sashimi. Sure, yes, I'll have another with 2 whiskeys. Let's go. And you just keep ordering, or you have the. In some of the places we went, we did our best to communicate with the phones to. I don't know how much Japanese, just know how to say, thank you and hello and that kind of stuff. But
What's a good toast in Japanese?
kampai,
Which
kampai
is what?
toast, just it's like celebrate. I don't know what it means, but that's the toast. That's how I felt in Portugal, Spain, Gibraltar, Morocco. Very inexpensive. Yeah, but it was weird. Like we went to like this one part, Ginza, which is like it felt like South Beach, Jeff. It was like every high-end shop that brand, France, Germany, US. I mean, all these high-end brands. They even had a Harry Winston there. I was surprised because only I think 2 or 3 of them in the US. And we went to a tea house there, and we each had tea. And the funny thing, it was Chinese tea. We had two thick little pots of tea, a little tiny little Danish, and it was like $35 for that. So it depends kind of like where you are. And meanwhile, that was like, we in the hotel we got the breakfast too. A lot of
Mhm.
times we didn't have the breakfast, but it was like
Mm.
$60 for 2 of us for like 3 or 4 days. Insanely
Hmm.
pretty cheap
Amazing.
compared to most hotels. Like you and I travel, they wanna charge you 35 to $45,
Oh, yeah.
for a breakfast type of thing. So
Oh, it's insane.
it was good, and, it was also good to have conversations with, people. We met some cool people that really wanted to engage with us and share, like, about, Japan and how much they love the US. And I will
Mm.
tell you the one thing I saw walking around the streets, because it was anywhere from coolest day was like 33 degrees all the way up to like 50, 55.
Mm.
But everybody there, 95% of the people have a North Face jacket on. North Face vest, North Face jacket, I was like,
Oh,
I've never seen the North Face so much prominent in my life as I saw in Japan.
that's
But
funny.
it's just a great society. The people are super
Oh,
warm, incredibly helpful. They probably see that a puzzled American look when, like, when you're in the subway and you're trying to negotiate, like, where you're going and trying to figure out which line you need to take. And we realized we couldn't figure it out because we were at the wrong machines for the bullet train, and the bullet train was something that was really a lot of fun taking that down. That thing hauls, man, and it was we had the upgraded VIP card. It was really phenomenal. But I recommend it. I think the people are just really warm, and I left with exceeded all expectations. Not that we had any, but I think the one thing that's leaving us is and the other thing, Jeff, which you shared with me about Korea, is that everywhere you go, when you sit down on that toilet seat, that puppy is warm, and it's like a
yeah.
warm embrace. It's like, "Hello," a nice little hug, and they all have the, because I'm big on the bidet tushy. So but that water too was warm too, so it was, like, nice going in. It's and I love how a lot of the toilets just self-wash after you use them. They wash themselves down. It's pretty freaking amazing, man. It was very clean compared to South Florida. And what I was saying to my wife was, I don't think you could have that level, because even like the public toilets you would use, full door on it, beautifully, immaculately clean. I don't think something like that would even hold up. I never saw anything Even like if you went to a restaurant or you were in a shop or whatever, they're just incredibly clean. And even like the shopkeepers were out cleaning, hosing down their stuff. And it was like, parts of it reminded me of being in New York City. I mean, it's like 7 times the size of New York City, but if New York City was clean and orderly, that's would be in instead of Japanese, it would be written in English. But it had that feel to it. I went to the Shibuya crossing, that famous crossing you always see from above, where it's like total chaos, where it's like people converging cross at every single angle. So we walked across there a couple of times. I felt almost as like I was doing Abbey Road. Like when I was walking across an Abbey Road, I was like, oh, I'm doing the Shibuya cross. Let's go here. Let's go there. And it's just like the most orderly chaos I've ever seen in my life. Somehow, with that many people, all you see is people moving in 7 different or 8 different directions, and it somehow worked every single time. And then I like, everybody stops and the traffic goes by, and then every direction, because it's not like one. You normally cross the street one way, but this is like all these ants crawling around. It was something. It was pretty good, and it was also great to see the how much we met this 21-year-old kid who in this pub, and I just asked him a question. He came over and BS was for 20 minutes. He said, yeah, I took a solo trip to the US. I went to New York, went to Miami, I went to New Orleans, went to LA. And I said, you did that by yourself? He said, yeah. I said, what did your parents think? They thought I was crazy. They thought, why the hell would you want to go there by yourself? It's dangerous. They have guns, this kind of thing. And the funny part about it was this guy was like really praising the US, and he was talking about the amount of pressure you have being a young person there. He said it's this massive amount of pressure that's on you all the time to do well, to do the right thing, to do this. It's so much pressure. And he felt like when he traveled around and met people his own age, they were looser, they were more like relaxed. And he felt like there was all this pressure to succeed. And he said, it's not so much what's said, it's what's not said. So he was kind of helping us try to understand like the cultural differences. And he was saying how much he loved the US. And a lot of people just were very, very friendly, or they really wanted to help you, and they were really happy, and I feel like if you go up to them and try to approach them in their language, or trip through it the best way you can, or show them on a phone what you're asking them and kind of go back and forth, they made a tremendous effort to really want to help you and stuff. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. And one time we were like confused. I was actually on the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train. It's all in Japanese, man. It says you can only Google Lens stuff so much, but I usually look for the color of the line. But I just missed that. And this girl says, "Oh, were you trying to book?" And I said, "I'm trying to go on the whatever the green line was." I said, "I'm trying to get on the green line." She goes, "Oh, you're at the the Shinkansen line. Here, come with me." And she like took us over, and she goes, "Oh, this is my dad. My dad actually works in Houston." And she's like, and we live here, blah, blah, blah. And she was just talking to me, but really friendly people, like warm, just energetic, friendly, very orderly. Of course, the one bad experience that I saw, Jeff, was we got on a subway, we got on a train car. And, sometimes you're underground, sometimes you're above, depending on where you're going. And, it's an unwritten rule that you just don't talk on the subway. You don't talk. If you're talking, you're going to be really like, hi. And it's super quiet, super clean, tons of people. Except about 7 or 8 of these men came on there. These Muslim men came on there, and they started like, just overboard, laughing, pushing each other, And I was thinking, and you could see the looks on people's faces. They were kind of nervous. And I told my wife, I go, I think I need to go over and have a conversation. She goes, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm like, I'm going to have a nice conversation. Like, hey, it would be nice if you could respect the Japanese culture. And she says, is that all you're going to say? And I said, well, if they push back, I'm going to say, shut your effing mouth or I'll shut it for you. And she goes, okay, that's not good.
Well, it's crazy though. If you go around the country or around the world at their perspective of American tourists in general, as not singular American tourists, but if you have a group of American tourists, they always look at Americans as coming over and being extremely loud.
They are loud. I was embarrassed.
You bring Americans anywhere in the world, and they're like, "Oh, those are," they just have this disdain for not Americans but the tourists, and they just kind of overindulge themselves, and not
they do. They're rude, Jeff. They're rude.
The general population.
the one thing I tell my wife, I said, there's a lot of weird white people here, like really weird looking, odd folks. Like, and you could see when they opened, like if they were European, based on hearing the conversation. So they're the European, but you could tell the Americans, you could pretty much look at them and know just by the way they're dressed. Europeans are always dressed really well, right? So they're always dressed pretty orderly. But the Americans are just loud, they're boisterous. They go in there, start speaking English to people. I'm like, at least make an attempt to meet somebody where they are. Like, don't be rude. And they were just being rude. Like even at the hotel where they spoke all the we lost you, Jeff. Oh, there you go. Even though in the hotel where they were doing where the one hotel is, it seemed like it catered to an English speaking audience. Like people would go up there and just start blah, blah. And I was like, and I look at my wife, she looked at me, and I was like, yeah, those are the people that give Americans a bad name. But I saw a lot of, expats living there, or, you'd bump into somebody and they would say, oh yeah, I've been living here for 2 years, or, and they respected the culture. You could see that they were on the trains. They were quiet. They were, you don't eat in public. If you eat outside a shop, like an outdoor type of thing, you eat right there quietly. You don't walk around. You don't, walk around eating. So we read up on like kind of the rules and how things work before, because we didn't want to be those Americans, that go over and don't have respect for the culture. But it's easy enough. But just man, what a love for Japan and the Japanese people. It's a really amazing culture built on just respect. Tons of respect. And the kids, dude, the kids are so well behaved. It was like just watching
I saw the
the
same thing in
kids.
Korea. It's the same exact thing.
Right, you see them walking around, and you're like, they're so well behaved. They really pay attention. They're very
I'm
polite.
around. Yeah. Yep.
I was like, this is sometimes it makes you embarrassed. Like, but you realize that their education system is you're teaching culture. You're teaching how to act to people, not teaching wokeism and how to hate people and all this other garbage, right? So that was part of it. But anyway, guys, good to be back.
One of the first times that we were in Korea, I didn't notice it this last trip, but the time before, we had young kids coming over to us as soon as they saw us, and they said American, and they would speak to us in broken English. And all they wanted to do was just practice their English. And they were so excited to see us so they could speak to us, and they would come like from across the street to come and engage with us and talk to us. And we saw that a lot of, many times as we're walking around, but it was the same thing. Everyone's super helpful and just really nice. And, and it's a, different cultures, but I would say, you can't take away, from here in the US, I would say as tourists come here, I think people here are pretty, friendly and outgoing, and you would want to help as well, but it's different. It's a completely different,
totally different.
Right.
Well, how many we see tons of tourists in South Florida. Like we're always getting tourism from all over the world, and the thing is, the US is so big that, even in Miami, like, I wouldn't take that thing that goes around the city is a joke. It's not a true subway like most cities have. It's just a joke. It takes forever. I remember I had friends come. That little thing that goes around Miami, that train that's drives around. It's a joke. I took that one time. Like, this is just a joke. And I know one time I had friends from the UK, and they're so excited to take the train down. I'm like, it's not like the trains like you guys have over there that are really nice and put together. This is like we took it one time down, a couple times to Miami just because we didn't feel like driving.
Well, we have the Bright Line now.
The Bright Line's decent, but the Bright Line can be expensive too, though, man.
Super expensive.
Just to go from Boca down to Miami, it was like $120 a ticket. I'm like, dude, what?
Yep.
I was like, it's insane. It's like when you're dealing with the yen and the US dollar is strong against the yen, it's like, like you go like 300 yen, 400 yen to go from point A to point B one way, and it was like $1. You're like, $1? What? $1.20, and you could get the pass and all that stuff, but we just kind of, a lot of times you just walk places, or sometimes we Ubered, and the Ubers were cool because I felt like the every taxi driver was also an Uber driver. I felt like they were doing like a little side hustle, because they'd have like their normal taxi stuff, and then they'd have like the Uber thing. Some of the actual, the vehicles actually said Uber on them. It was mostly just exclusive Uber. But even that, like the longest ride we took, the most expensive ride, because after a while you can't do the yen in your head. And I looked back and I reviewed it, and I said to my wife, the most expensive Uber ride we took? She goes, how much? I go, $27. She's like, what? I go, most of the time it was $8. I mean, dude,
Yep.
so much cheaper than getting an Uber from Fort Lauderdale up to Boca. I mean, it was just so much.
When we came back from Detroit, I paid $50 for the Uber back to my house. And, I live,
dude, you live right next to the.
you know how close I live to the airport.
Oh my God, that's insane. I remember the Uber. We went to Australia. I remember taking the Uber down to Miami, and I think it was like
Oh, yeah.
$95 from
Yeah,
Boca down.
you paid 95, and I think I paid 80.
And you're like you have like less than half the distance. It was like
Exactly.
insane.
They're so crazily
The
expensive.
shoes, it always gives them away. The shoes give them away too, yeah. And it's funny how much they look at your shoes, right? Because what's weird is I brought 3 pair of shoes. I brought my Merrells, I brought my Adidas, and then I brought my Thursdays. Like I had like a little bit, so a little bit of a collection. I usually wear a little bit nicer shoes, but you're right. The shoes give them away. Well, anything gives it away. I don't know. Americans feel like you can just like you roll out of bed and the first clothes that you roll into that are laying on the floor, you put them on. That's kind of how most Americans sort of dress,
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do the Karen. No, I was very I was extremely respectful, quiet. It was just nice getting on a subway train and not saying a damn word, Jeff. But anyway, let's get into it, guys. Long thing. We had to talk it back, being we haven't been here in 2.5 weeks. But this is interesting from Franklin Templeton Digital Assets. Look at this statement right here. XRPL is a payments first blockchain enabling real-time low-cost settlement and cross-border transaction efficiency within a diversified digital portfolio. We view the XRPL's native token XRP as a foundational building block given its market cap significance. And this is a quote by Roger Basin, who's the head of their digital asset division over there at Franklin Templeton. And I forget the woman's name that I saw speak from Franklin Templeton at Swell, but she was fantastic. And she was so pro XRPL. I think we played videos of her in the past here. She says, learn more about XRPZ, an exchange traded product launched to provide investors with exposure to the price movements of XRP, the native cryptocurrency of the XRP ledger, also called Ripple Protocol. So there you go. And they're strong on it. So it was really kind of cool to see that.
Appreciate you. Go Blazing Bandit.
What's up? XRP rocks. What's up? I think you changed your handle back.
I'm noticing that a lot of that again, no space, but people are adjusting their so we can start recognizing people again.
I think you can show that you can change what your display name is based on not your actual handle. Like on X, you can say mine just says Chip, but it's got my full name at my handle,
Yeah.
So the quiet and peacefulness, damn, sure won't happen on a metro. Oh, no, definitely will not. You'd be lucky if you don't. Yeah, you better be carrying there, man. That's all I have to say. Take this story, Jeff. This is hard to believe.
California. I don't know what's going on over in California other than it's not following the path that the rest of the country is following. Like I think New York's probably going to follow the same way. But California passed a bill to seize Bitcoin left idle on exchanges. Now, if you let it sit and you don't do anything for 3 years, so 3 years of inactivity. Now they have to really define inactivity, right?
What does that mean?
Does that mean you're not logging into it? Are you looking at it? What is that? And why do they have, and how are they even going to get access to some of these exchanges to actually do that? Here it's saying assets can be taken by the state under unclaimed property laws. So this is after 3 years of inactivity. All I have to say is that any of these state elected officials that are in the California House or Senate, they're out of their effing minds. So, and they passed this bill. We already know the governor is a nut job, so obviously, and this doesn't represent California. California is liberal in the pocket of San Francisco and LA, right? And that's it. The rest of California is red. And now, as we're starting to see people migrating outside of California, it's because of this. And you know what? It's a net positive because California is already suffering immensely because billionaires are already fleeing California and taking all their money out. They're taking their businesses, they're taking their property, and it's the same thing in New York. they're going to see an even larger brain drain and monetary drain, and to hell with them. They're going to suffer the consequence, but hopefully the people are going to stand up and revolt and say, you know what, we're done with this nonsense. First they're going to have to clean up their voter rolls. We can get into that, later, but this is crazy. But I just don't know how they can tap into an exchange, and even, it's legal, based on, California. Who's going to abide by that? And then who's going to keep their Bitcoin on an exchange at that point? If that's the known variable, what does inactivity mean? This is just it's
Oh,
crazy. And
but they
here's
had that. They were implementing that 5%.
simple asset. Yeah,
That
forfeiture.
5% it's a 5% of a billionaire's assets. No, you don't have access to people's assets like this. But it's full blown communism. They're not even trying to hide anymore. Most of this stuff is unconstitutional, but that's exactly it.
From the government, we're here to
That's what,
help.
as Reagan famously said. Yeah.
Yep. That's crazy, Joe Bud. So when I was young, really young, probably first, second grade, we lived in the Santa Barbara area, and it was really nice. I remember riding my bike to the beach when I was in second, third grade, maybe.
Back in the day,
It's
Jeff.
back in the day, not anymore.
Oh, you wouldn't.
I don't know what it's like there now.
Yeah, well, that's what Joe Buddy was saying. He grew up in the 70s and 80s in California. Beautiful place to grow up. Now it's bad. It's a damn shame. It really is. And this is it right here. Ridiculous extension of civil asset forfeiture, otherwise known as theft, 100%. And, again, seizing assets, I mean, it sounds like Venezuela all over again, which we'll get into that as well, but it's insane. Joe Bud said, I called Palisades was going to be from a welfare housing era. It's official. Yeah, well, everybody knew that. That's what they were going to do. They were going to basically burn it down, seize the property. I have a feeling something's going to happen to change that. We'll see, but I don't think that you can seize people's property like that per se. It'll go to a higher court at some point. We'll see how that actually plays out. We'll see that at some point. But you see stuff like this, and you're like, it almost feels like parody. It almost feels like, come really. But what you're seeing is, and who's going to take it on the chin is going to be the whatever you have left of the middle class, because I mean, Musk left, all these businesses are leaving. You had, was it Chevron, one of those big they left their headquarters, and there's more people leaving. And I saw the meme where you had the guy on the phone. It was like, and laughing. It's like the Miami realtors are happy because of Mondami's, they're getting their phones ringing off the hook. So you're going to have a major
sight unseen.
People buy.
People are buying properties.
They're buying properties and they're leaving because why? They're going to get taxed to hell. They're going to get punished. It's like, why would you? Who signs up for that? I don't think anybody signs up for that.
Exactly.
It's a little bit insane. Look at this thing from CoinDesk here. Here we go. XRP ETFs pulled in 1 billion in plus just 50 days, lock in 746 million XRP, which is 1.14% of the circulating supply, with only 1 0 inflow day since the launch. And at the current 27.7 million day pace, ETF assets hit 5 billion by mid-May 2026, potentially locking up 2.6 billion, which will be 4% of the supply, as exchange balances are already down 58%. Yeah. And this is what you're hearing the Moon Boys. So we'll get into the old supply shock. People are like, there's not going to be the supply. That means it's going to raise the price and go through. There's no such thing. This, again, is another Moon Boy myth. You got these so-called influencers out there propagating basically propaganda. I mean, it's just garbage stuff. Jungle Inc. posted this. I'm going to see if I can pull this video up here. Let me pull this up.
And Chip, when you have, from a supply shock perspective, when you don't have to buy, when you can buy an asset by the decimal point, if you can buy a Satoshi or you can buy a drop, and there's 1 million drops in one XRP, what does that mean, right? I mean, you can decimal point purchase it down to such an infinite amount. There's actually, what psychologically people want to own a whole. They don't want to own a decimal point. People keep thinking it from like a stock perspective. Traditional finance is going to break it down by the whole and probably not by the decimal point.
Tokenization will be the same way. You'll buy fractional.
I like the idea of buying fractional. It's good for, early investors. It's good for anybody. If you can buy fractional anything, it's imagine trying to buy Google or Amazon, in its big numbers. If you could buy fractional shares, and it goes up, 5%, 10%, you're still gaining the 5-10% increase.
Yeah, 100%. And people go, I don't want to get into Bitcoin, so I don't have X amount laying around. Well, good. You can just buy $20 a month, or $30 a month, whatever, and you can get into it gradually if you do that over a course of a couple of years. But I saw Jungle Inc. had posted this clip right here. This is a Standard Chartered making a call on a price prediction here, but let's listen into this. This is a report by CoinDesk.
Chart of the day. Standard Chartered is reiterating a massive price target for XRP, forecasting a move to $8 by the end of next year. That represents a staggering 330% upside from where we are today. The bank's analysts argue that the legal overhang of the past few years is finally in the rearview mirror. With regulatory clarity improving, they believe the gates are now wide open for institutional capital to scale. The data seems to back that interest up. US-listed spot XRP ETFs have already pulled in over $1.2 billion in net inflows since launching in November. Today, XRP stayed pinned near its $1.85 support zone. However, keep an eye on the volume. It spiked 20% above the weekly norm. This suggests that traders are strategically positioning for a breakout rather than reacting in a panic. Looking ahead to next month, watch out for the January escrow unlock. 1 billion XRP is scheduled to hit the market. While Ripple typically re-escrows much of that supply, the sheer size of the event could trigger volatility, especially with prices compressed right at these key technical levels. As of airtime, XRP is holding steady at $1.84, down over 1% on the day. That's it for today's chart of the day. I'm Jen Sanasi. We'll see you next time.
It's funny because earlier it was headed at $1.83. It was $1.84. I was like, I knew it was a different price earlier, the 1 cent. So it's like in the same report, they pulled it up. They must have put this together over a little bit of time, that they were actually putting that report together. But Leonidas, who's I don't know if you guys know, but he's an OG in the XRP community. But he puts up something really important because, again, like we've known this at a gut level, but it was really nice to see him put together some, bring some receipts. He put it together, this whole thing about the supply shock narrative. Glassnode data on XRP exchanges off by 14 billion, 1.6 compared to 16 billion. However, XRP in exchanges since October of 2025 has dropped. CryptoQuant, a data analytics website, total XRP holdings on 11 exchanges since October 2025 is down by 400 million in 3 months. He has all the charts here. And then he goes on to say that on the other hand, the Korean exchanges wallets, Upbit and Bithumb, have 570 million XRP more compared than October of 2025. Then he goes on and says to sum things up, on 11 exchanges that currently hold 11.2 billion XRP, 70% of total XRP in exchanges since October of 25, these 11 exchanges hold 400 million less XRP, even though Korean exchanges Upbit and Bithumb have 570 million more. Without the two Korean exchanges, Upbit and Bithumb, the drop of the amount of XRP in other exchanges is almost at 1 billion in 3 months. What does that mean? That means this whole supply shock you keep hearing, how it's going to rocket the price, all a bunch of say it, Jeff, bullshit. Ryan King Solomon says, hope you're doing well, dude. There you go. But I was good. I was happy to see somebody with an authoritative voice kind of come in here and say, put it into perspective. And look at this. This sounds weird to say, but XCTO Joel Katz, better known as David Schwartz, commented on this Metropolitan Police post from December 29th. Will robustly defend our decision to require officers and staff to declare that they are Freemasons. A response to the decision by the Grand Lodge of England to seek an injunction blocking the implementation of the policy is below. Right?
What?
Yeah, this is England, Jeff. This is the UK, right? They're out of this. You can't make this shit up anymore. You can't even parody it. It's so ridiculous. Okay, so 2/3 of officers and staff surveyed agree that the policy is needed. We think the majority of the public would also agree. There have been calls going back a number of years for the role of Freemasonry in policing to be properly addressed, including but they have no problem with the death cult being members of the police, right? No problem at all. There's perfect.
But why the
And so Freemasonry, they're out of mind because they'll view them as elite, and they're also Freemasons are also Christian. It's just another way to punch people in the face. It says you can tell exactly how willing they are to robustly defend their decision by the fact that they disabled replies. And what's weird is you get 107 people commented here, but you can tell exactly how willing they are to robustly defend their decision by the fact that disabled replies. That's pretty solid. That's pretty good. And
so crazy.
I just wanted to say that one other thing too is when I was in Japan, I had the chance twice. I went out to dinner and I met another guy from the XRP community with Crypto Eddie and her husband, along with my wife. But we got schooled in how sushi was traditionally eaten back hundreds of years ago. It was kind of like a pass-through. You'd stop in, you'd stand at a bar. It was a stand-up. They have a bunch of stand-up sushi places. Yeah. And they make it, and there's a bunch of rules that go with it. Like, first of all, you got to start with silverfish. It's like traditionally you start with the silverfish and you move on to something else after that, but you don't dip first, and you use your hands. It's customary to use your hands. I would say 90% of the people are using their hands. You take the sushi with the rice, you fish first side and then eat it. You don't dip the rice side. It's a no-no. It's also a no-no, frowned upon. Now, some people were using chopsticks, which Crypto Eddie pointed out. She says you will see some people, if you look around, using them, but majority of the people respect the rules, and the way you order and the way you compliment the chef in Japanese. So you can't tip there, but you can compliment them by saying, this is really delicious in Japanese. And I said that. I saw the guy's face light up. He was super excited. I was like, wow, because when you compliment them and telling them how delicious it was, I think it's probably great for them to hear it from a Ford or two. But she kind of gave us all the rules. I'm like, did I break any rules? I'm like, did I break any rules yet? Because and the way you put your chopsticks, you got to be horizontal. They can never be vertical. I guess in Korea, I think it's the other way. I think in Korea, isn't it vertical? You're supposed to lay your chopsticks.
In Korea, they use silverware chopsticks.
Do.
They don't use wooden chopsticks.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
so it's crazy.
When we ate in the Korean restaurants, right? They're metal.
They're metal.
Yeah,
it's like a regular fork or whatever. They're a bit heavy.
We had some Korean food, and it was like they were metal chopsticks. They were pretty wild. So I guess that's the. So anyway, this was us. We were at the stand-up place, my wife, and of course we covered up her husband's face because he doesn't like to be seen on social media, obviously. But he was her husband was he was great. It was fantastic that he was, basically. We went to a dinner, kind of like a sit down type dinner where you sit in those little, sit on the floor and everything. And he was telling him what to bring out. He brought out like 5 or 6 sakis that we were trying. So we have like a sake tasting party. And then he brought some whiskeys, and it was a really fantastic time. It was great to see Crypto Eddie again. We met her first time in Australia. So that was a lot of fun too. And she was kind of just going over the rules with us. I was like, wow, I don't want to break any rules here, but it was really fun to see from that perspective. And I got to tell you, Jeff, the best, honestly, hands down sushi I've ever had. And I had a chance to eat blowfish because I've always wanted to try blowfish, and this place was licensed to sell it. And if you don't cut it right, you basically don't make it. It's poisonous. But I was like, that'd be horrible to be going home with a blowfish. Like, oh, I think the blowfish is hitting. And I also had it fried one time too.
How did it feel?
Here's the weirdest thing. I was surprised. I was shocked at how many tall Japanese people there are. There was I saw 1 or 2 people that were either my height or taller. I was very surprised to see just all different sizes, really, quite honestly. You would think that, but I mean, I don't know how Korea is, but I saw quite a few tall Japanese men. And I saw like 1 or 2 tall Japanese women. They were wearing flats, and they were tall. They were at least 6 foot tall. 6 foot, compared to most of the men. But I was kind of surprised that what's weird is I feel like a giant. I feel like like a Yeti when I'm in Miami because I am the tallest dude in Miami. Like I'm just like a Hulk, But there I kind of just blended in. Of course, there's a lot of Europeans and foreigners and people from Indians and people from all over the world that have height. So it didn't feel awkward or weird. You're walking along, you see that other white person, they kind of like give you that look. You're like, oh, okay. You just kind of recognize each other. You're like, okay. Cause just, a lot of expats live in there full time, but no, it wasn't really that, Yay. American vaccinations. What? Shorty. It was it was quite good to be there. Let's get into some geopolitical stuff, Jeff. Here you go, right here. Go ahead and take this one.
So we're going to get into this later, but Zober had said earlier, he said, while you were gone, Minnesota turned into Somalia.
Oh, yeah. I've been keeping up on the politics. I still had my X account. Still working.
It was still working over there.
Still working, yeah.
So we've got very shocking. So the U.S. collects 2.4 trillion in income tax, but spends what? 1.5 trillion on fraud. So we see a lot of fraud. We've seen it coast to coast. We've obviously seen a tremendous amount of this fraud going on in Minnesota, specifically. Obviously, that's taken on a lot of the news. But if we didn't have to pay for fraud, only 900 billion would actually need to be collected. This means anyone with less than 500,000 in income could literally pay zero in income tax. We don't need to raise taxes. We need to cut fraud. And that's something that I think has been well known for quite a long time. The Democrat Party has been propped up by the fraudulent money for a long time. We've seen their well dry up, and there's been some very notable scenarios where they're well dried up. FTX was one of them, and Sam Bankman-Fried ended up in jail. They didn't protect him. Obviously, they don't really care. They just wanted the money. And there's been instance after instance after instance. And now, as you start really digging in and identifying where the fraud is, and you look at, Chip, what's happening in Minnesota, and then thank God for that 23-year-old kid that was able to document it. Now you go onto YouTube, and there's multiple videos of people now going into these Somali daycare centers that are empty. There's like just nothing inside of them. There's been nothing done to the inside of the building. And one of them I saw the other day, they walked up and there was a Maybach and something else sitting out in front, and it's just crazy. The amount of fraud that's been allowed to be perpetrated here in this country is just out of control. And the one way you can make sure that you can regulate is going to be through, blockchain based technology to regulate government expenditures. The ins and the outs,
100%.
give us some clarity.
Well, the videos that I've seen, which I think are remarkable too, are the ones now in Ohio, all these daycare centers in Ohio. Then they're finding it in Washington. And we're starting to hear that if you think the fraud's bad in Minnesota, it's a 10x in New York and California. So one of the things that people miss because they're tied up in like Trump bad, Orange Man bad, and he's bad. What they missed is they cut off the funding for the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has no money. They used to fund these NGOs who would wrap it. It was a big elite system, elaborate system that kind of route the money back. And so the NGOs got cut off. The USAID, USAID got cut off. And that was funding all these tentacles for everything. So now that there's no more money in the can, they're begging like crazy. The Democrat Party itself has zero money. It's got very, very few, millions in its coffers, and candidates aren't able to raise money. But you basically cut off the head of the snake, and what's happening is all this fraud that's happening. Because do you remember how much they pushed back on DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency? They push back on that like that was the worst possible thing. So you can always tell when they're screaming the loudest that's you're on the right track. And Jeff, take this follow-up story right here. Same dude.
Net worths. So who is this Arthur McWaters? What's his
I don't know who he is, but Elon Musk, he reposted both of these. He's a technologist, founder, American Maximalist, founder of Legion Health, YC series of 2021, Princeton, McKinsey.
There you go.
McKinsey's good. I mean, the guy's an analyst. Guy knows what he's talking about.
Yep. So here you are. In 1913, we had zero paid in income tax. By 2025, every family is paying income tax, and about 2/3 of it just to cover fraud. We have become a tax farm for politicians to enrich themselves and anyone who they can import to vote for them. And that's really the terrifying part, is that they're and and again, we've seen it happen. We saw 4 years under Biden, open border policy, where millions of people were flooded into this country. Before that, for decades, we saw also the influx of people coming in uneducated. And if you look at the specific countries that they were bringing people in from, they're fraudulent based economic structures. So, like in Somalia, you think there's free, fair elections in Somalia? You think that they coexist in their society without fraud and cheating and things like that? The entire structure is built on this. So when you bring mass numbers of people in from countries, and you think they're gonna, they care about, whether they're gonna be honest or not honest, when the Democrat Party was paying them and they're getting subsidized to be here in mass amounts of money. Of course they're gonna, and think about how many of them were registered to vote and how many of them actually voted. And we saw it with the open border coming from Latin America, same exact thing. It's like, and they don't know any different. You think people coming in that are uneducated from South America, that don't even have a high school education necessarily, they come here and they tell them, hey, we're going to register you to vote, and they don't understand our system of government. They're like, this is awesome. Now I'm here in America, I can even vote. And so they're like, here, go vote, plus we're paying you. So you think they're not going to go do what they were told to do when they're getting paid? So the whole thing being orchestrated, it's so disruptive. And now that it's all being called out, and we can go back and you can see where the cheating occurred, and now they are continuously like escalating their agenda and ramping it up. And we'll see, now they have to expedite their agenda because they're being torn down from within. The base is being pulled out from under them. They don't have the money, but yet they just got Mamdani into New York. They've got a fascist governor in the state of New York. She's out of her mind. Some of the things that she just did recently. You got a crazy mayor in New York City. They're going to fleece every last dollar that they can get out of people in New York, and the New Yorkers are going along with it without a care in the world. It's insane that they're even able to get to this point. And then California, another example, Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota was a nut job. And you think about that, you had, what's her name, the hyena, running for president, that they just put her into place, right? Nobody wanted her. They're like, here you go. And that's how they do things. And I don't know how
democracy, Jeff.
I don't know how, as we're working within our republic, how, people and even the Democrat Party are going to allow people to just be put into place. But we've seen that with multiples of their elected officials. Ilhan Omar, AOC, Presley, that whole squad. It was so fictitious. It was manufactured. There's no way that just naturally, organically comes together. That whole thing was orchestrated. They put publicity behind it. They picked the individuals. The whole thing has been orchestrated, and we're being duped. And that's the whole thing. It's like we're watching a movie and they're pulling the strings. You've got some of the elites within Hollywood that are fun, that, were part of the Democrat machine, and they're the ones that are orchestrating, what we see going on. It's just crazy to me, so we have to get back to a point. Forget about the income tax, right? There's enough money that can be, from tariff. There's other ways, and the government, shouldn't be fleecing Americans out of every last dollar earned. You want to have it from a you want to put some sort of a VAT, based on consumption. We need to support, you want a consumption tax, make sure it's not insane, maybe, but income tax, think about all the taxes that everybody pays.
It's insane, Jeff.
From income, consumption, real estate, just
property
every
tax.
direction, property tax. You're paying tax on tax on tax to the point where people have nothing left. It's just amazing to me. And then you have people that are willing to vote. So I want to see what happens this next election cycle. Florida has an opportunity to vote on removing property tax. And let's see if the Democrats
seems unconstitutional to me, Jeff.
They're pulling out of it. I want to see how much money.
Do you know how many elderly people have lost their homes because they're on a fixed income? They've owned their house for like 10 years. They finally retire, and then they get a tax lien put on them, and then a tax. If you don't pay like 2 years, you can foreclose on the property. This is where you see these in the U.S. these commercials about buying tax liens. So you basically pay for the tax lien. You pay the municipality the tax lien, and now you are the rightful owner. And now you can go foreclose on their property and basically take their property from them. It's insane. Right. Like it should be against the law. When you were referencing the illegals, one of the things Doge uncovered was over 5 million Social Security numbers were given out to illegals. You got a Social Security number, you get a voter registration card, you get a license, you get the vote. They're saying, oh, no one ever voted. It's a bunch of bull crap. And these people are installed. They're not elected. Look at this. I saw this. Michael Hoffman said, clarity on XRP is a perfect solution to a crisis. XRP Plumbing says, Michael Hoffman, do you know David Hoffman, the director, filmmaker? Which I actually follow David Hoffman's YouTube channel. I like it. It's a very good channel, especially some of the stuff. The guy spent a long time in the industry. He puts a lot of good quality content out there. So it's really good. And Sir John, what's up? Happy New Year to you, man. Happy New Year to you. When you all get a chance, read your state laws past 2026. You'll be surprised. Okay.
There's a lot of new state laws.
Yeah, there's a lot that went into effect. This one right here, breaking. Elon Musk is reportedly going all in on funding Republicans to help President Trump take back full control in the November midterms. Elon Musk commented and said, America's toast if the radical left wins. They will open the floodgate to illegal immigration and fraud. It won't be America anymore. And Jeff, that's when in the Constitution, it says at any time that the people think the government's not working for them, they can take it back. And I think if we get to the point of where it's full-blown communism, all the kind of stuff that's going on, we take it back. That's the solution. It's in our Constitution. We can redefine how we see it, and we can kind of set it up. I think it comes to that. The same way I think it's going to come to that in the UK. I don't see any other way. And it's the same with California. California has to burn to the ground, not literally, but it has to just crumble like New York before you can build it back up, because the people are so ingrained in this mindset, which is just insane on multiple just different levels of I'm almost the speech is like it's just, how do you vote for, especially after 9/11, how do you vote for somebody whose ideology is saying this, but then you're going out there and pretending, the one that killed me the most was when he was hanging out with the Jewish leadership in New York City, and they're like putting their arms around each other, la la la. I'm like, dude, this guy wants to kill you. He wants you dead. And he proved that. We're going to get into something where he proved that day one, minute one, when he took office. So, that's a key of stuff, lying in people's faces. He's showing up at nightclubs, at gay places. Come on, man. You think the guy is just he puts as the attorney the attorney that he hires is a guy that defended the 9/11 terrorists. I mean, this is what you voted for. Something I saw encouraging was
that big smile.
Benjamin Netanyahu finally speaking out about what's going on with the massacre of the Christians. So I thought this was, and this didn't get much press coverage. It almost got zero press coverage. Like finding this was a surprise in the timeline.
You are representatives of the Christian Zionists who made Jewish Zionism possible. It's hard for me to conceive the emergence of the Jewish state, the reemergence of the Jewish state, without the support of Christian Zionists in the United States, also in Britain, but the main thrust was in the United States in the 19th century. So Christian Zionism facilitated the rise and success of Jewish Zionism. And it's been an enormous partnership since then. I've known some of you. Mike, how long have we known? Since we were teenagers, something like that? A long time.
46 years.
46 years. Since we were a little more than teenagers. But I can say that we have no better friends, and I mean that sincerely. You have stood by us through thick and thin, and now we're challenged by new challenges, but equally with new opportunities. We've fought, as you know, a seven-front war, and we've come out in many ways victorious, but there's an eighth front, and that's the front for the hearts and minds of people, especially young people in the West, and for me, especially in the United States, and for me, especially on the conservative wing of the United States. And I think it's not just Israel's battle. I think it's our common Judeo-Christian civilizational battle, and I think we have to engage in that battle as forcefully, with as much resolution as we engage the other seven fronts. I think it affects not only Israel, it affects America, it affects our alliance, it affects the future of Western civilization. And I don't think I'm exaggerating one bit. I have here my colleagues, Israel's ambassador to the United States, to the United Nations, our consul general in New York, our consul general in Miami, and every one of my delegation. We feel that this is a theater that has to be engaged with great force. Who's to engage in us in this? It's us. It's you and us. And we have to, we have to be, I think we have to stand up and be counted. They have to hear our voice. There are some people who believe that, that faith should be silent and terrorism should be understood. No. Faith should speak its voice, and terrorism should be confronted, not understood, confronted and defeated. And that is what we're engaged in right now. So I want you to know that I spoke with President Trump yesterday. I said this publicly too. I see the battle against us and the battle against our Judeo-Christian tradition basically being waged around the globe. And it's waged primarily by two forces: radical Shiite Islam and radical Sunni Islam. That means the axis that is led by Iran, much battered, admittedly, but still there, and the axis, the Sunni axis, led by the Muslim Brotherhood, which permeates everything. They go to Europe, they go to the United States, they go to Africa, Nigeria. And we are conscious of the fact that Christians are being persecuted across the Middle East, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Nigeria, in Turkey, and beyond. And we're also aware of the fact, as you are, that one country protects the Christian community, enables it to grow, defends it, and makes sure that it thrives. And that country is Israel. There is no other. None. We are joining an effort to have basically a United Nations of countries that support Christian communities around the world, beleaguered communities who deserve our help. Just as you are helping us, we want to help back. And we're capable of doing that. In Africa with Intel, in the Middle East with a lot of means that I won't itemize each one. But this is what our agenda is. It's the main part of our agenda, and it's going to continue with greater force and greater might in this coming year. I want to use this opportunity to wish you all, well, it's kind of late for a Merry Christmas, but a belated Happy Christmas, and not a belated, and on time, a Happy New Year. May it be a year of prosperity, peace, and security for all of us, but especially for the Christian communities around the world. So thank you, and Happy New Year to all of you, and thank you.
I mean, Jeff, just from my perspective, being a Christian, I think that's a huge step right there. I mean, somebody, you have Israel, a good ally partner, but actually stepping up and saying, we're going to share intel, we're going to hit the way we can hit, we're going to support, the Christian, going out, stepping outside. Like you've really never seen something like that. And who else is standing up for it? If you look at the Crusades, if you look at countries that now are Jordan, Egypt, all these countries that used to have a majority of Christians that have been decimated, mostly by, and people will stand up against the, taking the back of things that were stolen. But I mean, that changed the face of these countries forever. And what's happening in, Lebanon, and all these countries that where you got, obviously we know Jews are persecuted, but the Christians are being persecuted too. And it's kind of just, well, yeah, whatever. It's flushed under the carpet. And hundreds of thousands of Christians being, killed in Africa just because of their faith, right? Because they're not, they don't come from a certain faith. So to me, this is a huge step, Jeff, to see this.
It is, and we're talking about Christians being massacred now, today in Africa, and for years we see what happened in Lebanon, where the Christians were chased out of Lebanon. Not just chased out. I have, multiple friends that were from Lebanon, Christians from Lebanon, that were chased out of Lebanon. Their families were chased out of Lebanon. They saw horrible things happen as they were attacked by the Islamic forces in Lebanon. Same thing happened in Syria. Same thing happened in Iraq as the Chaldeans had to flee Iraq, the Christians that lived in Iraq. And if you go to Detroit, you'll see a large community and talk to them firsthand about what happened to them while they're in Iraq, and think about all their businesses and their properties and all of that was confiscated as they were fleeing. It was that or be subjugated to death. So horrible things happened throughout the Middle East at the hands of the Islamists, and the world was silent on it. You have Bridget Gabriel she was from Lebanon. She talks a lot about her experiences of what happened to her and her family in Lebanon. And it's amazing to me because I see the ignorance of people that have obviously never been to Israel, but the ignorance of what they say about Christians in Israel, because there's large Christian communities within Israel,
and Muslim population too,
and Muslim as well. There's like 2 million Arabs that live within that are Israelis, and so when you go to Israel and go to the old city and look at go from the Christian quarter to the Jewish quarter to the Muslim area, and today it's extremely difficult for people to get to the Dome of the Rock if you wanted to go visit that area, but it's amazing to me the true coexistence, and that's only possible in Israel. There was a genocide. There are no Jews left in any of those Arab countries, or very few, because they were chased out. They also weren't allowed to stay there,
Christians
and Christians. That's right. I mean, between the Christians and the Jews, and so, but why do people ignore it? Why are people willing to blindly ignore, or just, go everything that happened in the Middle East? They're okay with the terrorist onslaught. They're okay with Christians being massacred in Africa. They're okay with all of that. It's just mind-boggling that people aren't willing to stand up. I get it. The Europeans have become atheists, and maybe they don't care anymore. It's such a travesty. I don't know when, people need to kind of go back, and there have to be some belief in something. Otherwise, if you believe in nothing, then really what is the point? Like, how do you exist, to say, okay, here's, we get what we get. Like, the people that want to ignore what's happening in Africa, and it's been going on so long over there. I can remember, a number of years ago, I went to an event, and there was this kid. I say kid, he was probably in his early 20s at the time, if that, probably early 20s. He had escaped slavery in Sudan. He was from Sudan, but he escaped slavery in one of the Arab countries. I forget exactly where he was, but his family was massacred. He was taken, and he ended up in slavery, modern day slavery. We're not talking about that long ago. So, it's probably in the 90s, maybe.
That's crazy, man.
And here he's telling his story. And I remember at the university, so this was probably late 90s, and he's telling his story. And I remember some girls stood up, a Muslim girl stood up, and she started accusing him of lying and yelling at him. Here he's telling his story, and she starts attacking him, right? And I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy's telling his story of what happened to him. You have no idea of what actually happened to him, and you're going to stand up and accuse him of lying. She was obviously escorted out, but he spoke in front of the United Nations, and the story that he told on how he was able to finally escape, and then how he made the progress to the different countries, and he ended up making eventually getting out and being
He
able
was
to
lying,
tell this
Jeff.
story.
He was just making it up.
But that also happened modern day, and that type of stuff is going on, but yet the world wants to turn a blind eye to it. The UN, the United Nations, they're enriched because of stuff like this, and they want it to be perpetuated. They don't want to admit the truths of what is actually happening there. And when we get down to the Islamist onslaught that's happening on a global scale, why is it that all these other countries in the Middle East don't allow the Muslim Brotherhood to exist? Yet
the rabble rousers.
Europe does. Europe is importing them in mass numbers, as did the U.S. Fortunately, in the state of Florida now, they outlawed it.
Texas too.
CARE is now outlawed here in Florida, as well as the Muslim Brotherhood. So it's a step in the right direction, but you need so much more. There just so much more has to happen.
Yeah, I was looking at this, Jeff. It's Soul of Jeff. He says, leaders want a religious war, you're going to get it. The last war will be a religious war. It's not a religious war per se. When you're fighting over religion, it's just like if you're killing a group of people because of their faith, you're going to expect some point they're going to respond. So it's not a war. Most wars fought over land, property. I think somebody had and money. It's all this stuff, but most of the time it's the people who benefit from war that make a shit ton of money, are funding both, fueling both sides of it, but they're the ones sitting back making the majority of the money. So it's always there's always something there around that. But I wanted to get to something that happened early this morning.
Yeah, the big news of the day.
Big news of the day here. Let's talk about this. This here, Pete Hegseth. This I did go verify this on True Social. This is from Trump. So the United States of America successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured, flown out of the country. The operation was done in conjunction with the U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There'll be a news conference today at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So there you go. Around, find out. In the last election, he only got 12% of the vote. But he got 99% of it, according to him, but he wasn't even the right person. And people are,
the other guy got 71%, something like that.
People were pointing to this is the reason. It's not the reason. Maduro is not the president of Venezuela, and his regime is not the legitimate government. Maduro is the head of the Cartel de los Soles, a narco-terror organization which has taken possession of the country, and he is under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States. This was on July 27th, 2025. That's when that was. And let's see, do I have the one from Mike Lee?
We have some video of this too, I believe.
We do have some video. Let me, I want to pull up the thing from Mike Lee. I thought I had that, but you never know, Jeff. It's like you're always trying to find. Here it is, right here. I want to find it real quick. Mike Lee just got off the phone with Secretary Rubio. He informed me that Nicolas Maduro has been arrested by the U.S. personnel to stand trial on criminal charges in the United States, and that the kinetic action we saw tonight was deployed to protect and defend those executing the warrant arrest. This action likely falls under the president's inherent authority under Article 2 of the Constitution to protect U.S. personnel from actual or imminent attack. Thank you, Secretary Rubio, for keeping me apprised.
So Mike Lee, before he questioned whether or not, look at his comment right before his response. He said, I look forward to learning what, if anything, might constitutionally justify this action in absence of a declaration of war or authorization for the use of military force. So he kind of puts that out there where he's questioning the action. He said, okay, let's see how this is constitutionally justified.
Right. Which,
they did have some solid bombardment of the area. There was definitely some good cover fire that was laid down as they went in.
See, where is the video on that? Oh my goodness. I had so many videos posted. It's like I have so many of them. I can't even find the right one on the Anyway, there was somebody had filmed the Apache helicopters. They were also hitting some they were hitting a bunch of things as well. Here it is right here. Here we go. I don't know if this was the strike from a couple of days ago where they hit like the port and some drug boats.
Look at that.
Or this was actually that happened last night, so I don't know when this happened. But
Look at that.
by the way, this ended in less than an hour. Or the left's gonna flip and lose their mind, man. They're gonna just lose their shit over this. They were saying that they weren't notified. Yeah, because it would have been leaked to CNN. That's probably why they didn't. You know, it probably would have been leaked all over the place. You can't have a military mission, you know, with letting people know. But also too, that I saw this one here. This was interesting. This came into my feed today, so I thought this was worth watching.
People talk about invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion in Venezuela, and I answered, Venezuela has been already invaded. We have the Russian agents, we have the Iranian agents, we have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, operating freely in accordance with the regime. We have the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels that have taken over 60% of our populations, and not only involved in drug trafficking, but in human trafficking, in networks of prostitution. So this has turned Venezuela into the criminal hub of the Americas. And what sustained the regime is a very powerful and funded, strongly funded repression system. Where does that funds come from? Well, from drug trafficking, from the black market of oil, from arms trafficking, for human trafficking. We need to cut those flows. And once it happens and repression is weakened, it's over, because that's the only thing the regime has left, violence and terror. So we ask the international community to cut those sources, because the other regimes that support Maduro and the criminal structure are very active and had turned Venezuela into the safe haven for their operations into the rest of Latin America.
Cut the flows. Trump cut the drug flows, the human trafficking flows, closed up the border. I feel like they're probably under a lot of pressure. I just don't know how you do a military exercise without having some coordination internally or with the opposition, because they're not the rightful government. He hasn't won an election in a long time. And the same people who the Democrats, democracy, even though we live in a constitutional republic, they love democracy because it's usually mob rule. But in this case, somebody was never elected. The people elected somebody different, but you see like 99%, it was the same with the previous dude. It was like always, I won by 99% of the vote. Only 1% voted for the other guy. I mean, this is just absurd to even think this, Jeff. It's like, beyond, understanding on any scale. And I know that people are going to like, oh my God, but like, was it a war? No, it ended in, out. I mean, I wish I could see footage of how because that day, Jeff, I saw footage of Maduro meeting with Chinese officials. He was laughing it up and we're such good friends and la, la, la. Boom, gone. See you later. F around, find out, Jeff. That's how it works. Trump gave him plenty of time to have a conversation. He gave him plenty of time. And then boom, he does it. He asks you nicely and then bam, pops you. And that's kind of how it works. So yeah.
So Sir John has said some interesting things here to point out. Said soon the only communist sanctuaries left will be the Ivy League facilities, and I think we're pretty much spot on with that. At this point, and we have to keep hitting them. We can't allow the collapse of Western society from within as they try to dismantle. We just saw a church that got burned down in France this past week.
It wasn't France, it was Netherlands.
Amsterdam. Right, in Amsterdam. And obviously, there were the stuff that was going on that led to it being burned down. Obviously, all this is being orchestrated, and it's not the first time, and probably not the last that we're going to see a church that's going to be burned down, burned to the ground, by and these are ancient churches, you know, and it's crazy, absolutely crazy that this stuff is being allowed to happen throughout Europe. And Sir John is right. It's a clash of civilization. It's a
Hmm.
21st century versus the 7th century, and they're allowing the 7th century into their homes, and it's really problematic. And we're gonna see the result. People are getting fed up with it. Individual people, just like in Venezuela. Think about even when Hugo Chavez cheated the election system, Obama had an opportunity to call it out
Yeah,
and say, "Look, I'm not going to back it," but he backed it. He was okay with
they knew it was stolen
Chavez.
too.
They knew it stole it, backed Chavez, and the rest is history. We see how Venezuela fell at a rapid pace after that. It was already dangerous. Venezuela was all Venezuela went from an economic powerhouse that was safe to where it is today in like 2 decades. That's how fast a society can fall, to where now it's a matter it has to be rebuilt, and you gotta keep hitting them, at every step, but we also see what Bukele was able to do in a very short period of time. So there's a lot of good things that can be orchestrated. But you're right. Obama was
100%.
selected. He was not elected.
Correct.
And it's interesting too because of the hype that went behind putting him into office. And I remember working one of the precincts during that election cycle, and people were lined up out the door around the building to vote for Obama. And you can tell most of the people in line, first time they ever voted. A lot of young people came in to vote, and you could hear them talking in line. This
100%.
is the first time they're only voting for Obama. And the difference between people that voted regularly and all these other people that were, led to believe whatever, however they got, brought to vote for the first time like this, is that when if you have to go through and fill out your voting ballot, there are all sorts of questions, and the average person's there, I don't know, 5-10 minutes maybe, filling everything out, reading, and these people in and out. They would come in, they'd fill Obama, and they'd be gone. So it's like within less than a minute, they're in and out, these people. And so you could tell, and it was being fueled within the universities, it was being fueled within the high schools,
Oh,
just that
there's
whole
also voter fraud
system.
everywhere.
There was the voter fraud, but beyond, we also saw the miseducation system,
Mhm.
that has been going on for so many years that led these kids, and from the colleges and everywhere else, and they just push and push and push. And man, that was such an awakening moment because the next cycle, those same people didn't come out to vote the same way. It's really amazing to see. Obviously, during COVID, they knew they had to do something else, so they came up with the mail-in ballot. Not the absentee ballot, which was already the mail-in ballot that you actually had to go and prove who you were. Before you had to go to the courthouse and prove with the driver's license and a bill from your residence that this is me, and that you could get your absentee ballot. And then went from that system to, oh, we're just going to mail ballots to everybody's home and you can vote. And obviously, the fraud that went on with that, it's just unbelievable. People were okay with it. Like, hey, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Amazing, amazing, Jeff. I
Chip's
was gonna
lemon tree got smaller.
well, the whole thing about this, that you know the it's current century versus this guy Andrew Brock. I wanted to play this, Jeff. I don't know if you agree with this guy or not. He's a little bit bold in what he says here, but it's interesting. I'm just sharing his perspective. Here we go.
And when these populations of 60, 70, 80,
Well, he's got a post up there from Elon Musk that because Katie Miller was just sworn in. This Katie Miller You want to talk about someone who's never held a job, that lives in their parents' basement, that doesn't have, but it basically says, she says, Katie Miller says, why is California refusing to cancel 17,000 immigrant truck drivers' licenses? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting her mixed up with somebody else. I was getting her mixed up with Democrat. No, California would rather protect illegal aliens and their own citizens. And Gavin Newsom saying, "Well, it's going to be," then Elon Musk says, "My friend's wife was killed by an illegal immigrant with the truck." Well, let's back it up. What Andrew Brock? What's his name? What the hell is this guy's name? I have it here somewhere. Broca, is it? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, his last name is Broca. But here we go.
And when these populations of 60, 70, 80 IQ people see a first world culture with 100 IQ, average IQ, it's always the same map. They're literally retarded. The bulk of the world is literally retarded. They're incapable of doing what we routinely do. Establish first world cultures and have a first world standard of living. They're literally incapable of doing that. Yet, 200 years ago, they couldn't see it. They couldn't see it. But now they can see it. Now it's on TV. It's on the internet. They can get on a jet, fly to New York, and they're like, wow. And because they can see it, and because they know they can't do it, that they're incapable. And nothing can change that. There's no vitamin or food they can give to their kids. Their kids are going to be retarded. Their grandkids are going to be retarded because IQ is genetically coded. It takes evolution to change it. And because they know they're retarded, their peoples are retarded, they will always be retarded, they hate us. It's not even hard to understand just from a human emotional perspective.
Anyway, yeah, Andrew Brock. Not what he's given the benefit of doubt. Actually, in some countries, okay, and it's been proven. Like for example, for Somalia, you're talking about a 60 to 80 IQ, right? Which here, like in the United States, you would have mental retardation, ability to learn and function in the real world. It's not trying to be something. Again, it's just sheer facts, and you have that a lot in large parts of the world where you have. And he's right; you can't fix it overnight. But a lot of it has to do with inbreeding as well. So if you're doing a lot of inbreeding, where if you have Pakistan, 70%, over 70% of births are from inbred, usually cousins marrying, that is not going to help turn that around. So inbreeding is also a large problem. You don't have that in certain parts of the world, but this is what he's talking about: is that you don't have the ability to have that logic or reason necessarily. It's easy to get somebody hooked on, this is the way it is, and you do this and you do that. Okay, that they can follow orders and pretty much that. And he's making an extreme case out of it. I don't agree the way he's sort of saying it. I think it's a little bit brash, but I think there is something behind the point that he's attempting to make. I just don't think he's going about it maybe the right way. He's being way shocked. There's a lot of shock on there. But one of the things I want to talk about, Jeff, was Mandami was
he's angry though.
So Mandami's like doubling down on stupid here.
I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist.
And nobody's shocked. Look at them. Look at Bernie. First of all, Bernie turned that thing into a full communist rally. We're not going to play his bit, but it was just insane. Just to watch this, the people like
group up front.
I mean, AOC was a disaster. They don't hide it, but they will take the fall because the fall is coming. It's going to be a hard one. So it'll be fun to watch. We'll have a lot of content for the show here, Jeff. It'll be good. Like clapping seals.
Look at his fake.
His fake. Fear of being deemed radical.
He is a radical.
He's not going to abandon his principles to be called radical. Oh, it's okay. Okay, tell us how it is.
As the great senator from Vermont once said,
the great senator.
Radical is a system which gives so much to so few and denies so many people the basic necessities of life.
How do they know his speech?
Each day to ensure that no New Yorker is priced out of any one of those basic necessities.
I mean, this whole thing, Jeff, is it's on a level of there's so much content around this Mandami thing. I almost don't even know where to start. So here's Becky Weiss. She is commenting on this whole thing on Mandami. Here she is.
Mamdani just swore in on the Quran. Yay, he's so progressive. Super progressive. Let's learn what the Quran says. Per the Quran, men may have up to 4 wives whom they have complete authority over, but women may only have 1 husband. Women are not allowed to refuse intimacy with their husbands. And oh, by the way, the Quran actually instructs the husbands to beat their wives for disobedience. Furthermore, the Quran permits men to marry pre-pubescent girls and then consummate the marriage once the man decides that the girl is physically able to tolerate it. The Quran also establishes a legal inequality between men and women. Women are not treated as equals, they are treated as lesser than. There's more, but we're going to move along to Islamic law, which stems from the Quran, which allows for the death penalty for gays and the abuse of women at the discretion of their husbands. Ultra progressive. That's your guy right there. That's what you voted for. Oh wait, there's more. The Quran also explicitly calls for violence against non-believers. Here are a few references you can pause and read. Fitna is worse than killing. What is fitna, you ask? Well, fitna is unbelief or the resistance to Islamic dominance and authority. It is better to kill people than to allow fitna, again, unbelief or resistance to Islamic dominance and authority. And liberals, progressives, that's your guy. That's your guy. Do you have any understanding of what it is you are cheering for?
No.
Clearly not.
Clearly not, Jeff. I mean, it's... I have a quote here that I wanted to pull up here. Hopefully I have it here somewhere. Let me see if I do.
Amazing.
So I never have it when I need it and looking for it. But anyway, I will find it and I will put it up here because it's so freaking spot on that you can't even make this shit up anymore. So meanwhile, Jeff, the city that brought us Notorious B.I.G., Nas, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Busta Rhymes, LL Cool J, etc. Right? What did we get from Mandami? Oh, you ask? What exactly we get? We got this. This was the musical act at Mandami inauguration.
What is this? What the heck is this?
This was the guy that sang at there was one of the at the Mandami inauguration. It was on stage. It wasn't any famous rapper or any of the famous musical acts from New York. This dude. Mandami laughing his ass off in the back.
He has such a fake smile. Oh my god. This is crazy.
He's got that sort of like cheesy sort of like that used car sales guys trying to sell you a car. Yes, smiling Ted. You know, it's like such a goofball. It's so fake, Jeff, and understanding. This is Jeffrey Mead, who I love, does great commentary, but this is him talking about, one of his famous quotes was the whole the warmth of collectivism.
Yeah.
The warmth, Jeff. This is how he positioned the warmth over rigid individualism. Sorry, but the United States was founded on individualism. It's always going to be individualism. It's always going to be we, the people. It's never going to be the collective. That's save that for Europe. Save it for the UK. Save it for dominance of other countries. But no, it's not going to happen here. Here we go.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
Yeah, absolutely not. Individualism has been the core engine for this country. It refers to personal responsibility over collective responsibility, self-reliance compared to dependence on institutions or governments, success or failure being a result of that individual's choices and actions, limited government interference in people's lives. To keep it simple, you're responsible for yourself, your family, and your outcomes. This is what built the most successful country in the history of existence, and this is how this country should continue to operate. Now let's talk about the warmth of collectivism. Let's be clear, Democrats just elected a mayor that has an opposing worldview of what built this country into what it is today, and they're celebrating this. The Democratic Party is a problem. But let's go back to the warmth of collectivism. This means that the group comes before the individual. Outcomes should be managed or equalized by society or the all-knowing and all-wise state. Resources should be pooled and redistributed. He uses the word warmth on purpose, and he tries to make it sound like it's compassionate rather than coercive. So here's what he's really saying. Individual autonomy and self-reliance should be replaced by collective responsibility enforced through government policy. That's essentially what he's saying. And that typically implies or leads to higher taxes to fund more social programs, more centralized decision-making, bigger government, less emphasis on personal accountability, decision-making, competence, and merit, and greater dependence on governments and governmental institutions rather than your own self-reliance or private initiative. He's trying to change people's minds and get them to believe we need a different way for our society to be organized. Here's the problem with him and many people like him. These socialists, they don't create wealth. They extract it. They go and they take wealth created by other people and redistribute that amongst the masses or whoever they see fit. Historically speaking and practically speaking, collectivist systems create dependency. They don't empower people. And again, it leads to centralized power. Same people saying no kings want to help push a system that's going to centralize power even more. It's idiotic. But I want to go back to this because this is important. These people do not create wealth. These socialists, these collectivists, they need the capitalist to create the wealth. And then they want to go confiscate that wealth from the capitalist and then distribute it as they see fit. And this is what the Democratic Party is pushing right now. It's an absolute problem. Anyway, just a reminder, I have a free email newsletter I send out every morning around 7 a.m. Central. It's a great place to get direct information from me, and I can't be censored there. The link is in my profile, so just go to my profile, click the link. You'll see the screen right.
He can't be censored there, Jeff. He says, he's like, I can't be censored there because, you are going to get censored.
And Money GCC said, guys, Mamdani has a massive agency file. My mother grew up with his father.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, there you go. Check this out here. So I thought this was funny. New York Post put this out. Zohan Mandami fans disappointed by disastrous block party with no food or bathrooms. Well, that's what you're gonna get. That was a funny positioning.
More monkey business said Jeff's going on like he doesn't know the song. He was the first one to buy the album. Not only did I buy the album, but I pre-bought all.
He's like, who is this guy? Of course he has it. He was like, because you could see it mouthing the words.
Yeah,
he was like he was singing along when that was going on. He's like, "What? Who's this? I don't know who this is." Check out this dude here. This guy's gonna weigh in on the situation. Who knows a little bit about how communism works?
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
Famous words spoken by every communist in history. Hi, my name is Bogdan, and this is exactly how communism came to power in my country, Romania, via collectivism. First, they confiscated private land. Then they used terror to enforce collectivism. The regular Romanian citizens were arrested, beat up, humiliated publicly, left to rot in prison, and some even executed. The next step for collectivism was destroying the independent farmer class. These people were a threat to the regime because they were able to stay self-sufficient and did not rely on the state. Independence was and still is the biggest threat to communism. They made it in such a way that owning more than others was a crime. Once all that happened, the communists started confiscating the food from farmers, leaving families to die. They also confiscated the livestock raised by people. This resulted in famine, malnutrition, and the collapse of productivity. Romania literally went from being the #1 exporter of grain in Europe to chronic shortages of food. But that wasn't enough. The communists then banned free market. No free sale of crops, no private trades, no bargaining, classic socialist failure. But collectivism wasn't just economic, it was cultural as well. In Romania, they attacked the church and religious people. They replaced family authority with party authority, all with one goal in mind: replace faith and family with the state. 15 years later, the communists declared victory. 90% of all farmland in Romania was collectivized. Bottom line, Romanian collectivism was forced, violent, economically disastrous, morally corrupt, and designed to control, not help. Only for today in the United States of America to be in New York City. I swear to God, some Americans are the dumbest morons on the planet.
He's right.
Yeah, and Jeff, so I saw this and I put two and two together. So
100%.
So you want to know how dumb the New Yorkers are? This next video I'm going to
so
play
dumb.
demonstrates how dumb they are, because this is New York City. This is New York City on New Year's Eve. Look at the crowd that's gathered here. Now they were told, or they somehow thought there was going to be a show on the Brooklyn Bridge, but they were shocked when midnight hit and there was no show. This is how dumb these people are. Look at this.
4, 3, 2, 1.
The caption reads, TikTok convinced thousands of people the Brooklyn Bridge was having a New Year's Eve fireworks show. Here they are. Look at the crowd.
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
Look at the crowd of people. This is how stupid these people are. You want to know why they voted for Mamdani? Right here. They thought it was late. They're still waiting.
Where are they?
Did we get pranked? We got pranked.
Yeah, you got pranked, all right. Wait till you find out.
I mean, the amount of people who are misinformed here.
Misinformed. This guy's there waiting for it. They're misinformed.
It's not off to a good start.
It's off to a great start. You just elected a communist, socialist, Muslim mayor. It's about to get real good. Jeff, this was like some video that I saw. I wasn't sure if this happened or not, but I saw this little piece of video, and I don't remember this from the official film, but check this out. Look at him and Bernie. Look. Jeez, Jeff. Is that a suicide vest he's wearing? Bernie's inspecting him. Wow, I don't know if that made... Did you see that, Jeff? It's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I think that's got to be AI, Jeff.
Yeah. Sir John said, my grandpa lost everything in nationalization. All the land, stores, fortunately, was returned in the 1990s. So think about all those years that you went without. In communism, gunpowder is not spent on fireworks, but on the people. That's right. They got to save it up. So here's this commentary right here, the Mamdani family's intelligence connections.
Yeah, well, here you go. Here's another clip from the Mamdani inauguration, if you will. Here it is right here.
First of all, I want everyone to know that AOC is not fat. She is probably pregnant or something. I mean, she does look a little fat, but give her a break. It's the holiday season, you know. She probably ate more tacos in Navidad.
So for the people listening in, it says in the background, I love communism. He's got official, Mamdani's got a beard and he's got his official, kind of a heavier beard, but he's got an official, military uniform on. In the background, it says, I love communism. Give us free shit. Everything we touch turns to shit. AOC's not fat. She's probably pregnant, a bunch of stuff. So
anyway, we will be seizing your property, comrades. You know, for the good of the collective and all that. If you have a house, you now have to take in at least 3 families so they can mooch off of you. If you have a car, you will now have to drive them around all day. You will own nothing and you will be happy, okay, comrades? Anyway, everything we touch turns to shit. That is our motto from now on. Thank you very much. Namaste, bitches.
Bitches.
This might be the greatest use of AI. It's just these parody videos, Jeff. Like every time I see one, I think like, God, they're done so well. But look at that. Just when you thought that was a good one, wait till you see this one. Wait till you see this one. This one's a good one. Here we go. Check this out.
New York!
Mayor-elect Mamdani, what's your first move?
Simple. I'm making history.
The law that changed everything.
People of the city, you can now marry goats.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is oddly popular.
Love is love, and occasionally it has hooves.
From Pixar Animation Studios.
Do you take this goat?
She already...
Jeez, man. It's insane, the level of sophistication on some of these, Jeff, is just, it's like next level. Here's another one. Let's see if I can find it here. Look at this one. This one's kind of spot on right here. Look at this. This is not a Mamdani one, but this is a Somali one. Here we go.
We don't need to be pirates anymore. I found a better way. Government-funded daycare. Huh? We must go to Minnesota. To Minnesota!
In a world where some rules need to be bent.
Did we spell something wrong?
Who cares, as long as they spell our names right on those $1 million checks.
Comes the story of triumph.
Remember when we had to illegally steal from innocent people like thugs? But now we're stealing from innocent taxpayers. Just like the government intended. Look at me. I'm the millionaire now.
Oh my God. It's too funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good parodies out there. It's just really, it's kind of fun to watch them all. Here we go. I like this take too. Oh, this last one. Here's this last one, Mandami one. This is a playset, Jeff, you can get now. This is kind of fun.
Introducing Mayor Zoham's Communist City playset with fearless Mayor Zoham ready to share his book of rules. Build your own workers' paradise, complete with real-looking trash piles and 8 homeless citizens.
Look, the flag really waves. And there's a secret stash of coins in the tower.
Mayor Zoham commands
And
dictate the fun.
everybody has to listen.
What the hell?
It's the shithole playset. That was the title of the video, the shithole playset. So, and then
That's funny.
there was one more. I like this one's woman's take as well.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
Hi, individual liberties, individual freedoms, individual rights. It's kind of the whole point. It is what our country was founded on. And gosh, who else pushed this groundbreaking idea of collectivism? Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Mao Zedong, Castro, Lenin. And how did that end? Everyone was collectively miserable. Collective misery is how that works, because it is harder to control the individual, but it's easy to control the collective. And ironically, every single time this idea of collectivism, socialism, what happens is the leaders, it ends in dictatorship, and they get super rich while everyone else's quality of life decreases, everyone else gets more miserable. Because someone has to pay for Zara and Mom Donnie's wife's ugly shoes, her $600 ugly shoes. Yeah, someone has to pay for that. The collective, easy to control. The individual, hard to control. Collectivism and individualism, they cannot coexist. Collectivism will take the individual rights. And again, our individual liberties, it's quite literally the whole point of our country. If you don't understand this, I am judging you.
Judging you. If you don't understand this. Well, they don't. That's the whole point, is they don't understand it, Jeff. It's like, this is the whole sort of, the idea is nobody does understand it. Then there's this one here. Let's see. Hang on. Let me find this. Man, too many damn videos.
So much good stuff.
Man, I can't even find the one that I wanted to play next. Oh, man. Gosh, where the heck?
Oh, that video that you showed was from the strike in Venezuela.
Oh, was it? I wasn't 100% sure if it was or not.
There was more to it, but yeah, that was.
Here's a good Tampon Tim parody. Look at this. People make good songs and great videos.
Tampon Tim, the people's friend. Free tampons for all the men. Daycare's full of kids, well, kinda. But the money goes to my dear friends from Somalia. Hey, 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 hey. Fraud all day. Billions gone astray. Ghost kids, no one's there. Welcome to Tampon Tim's Daycare. Tampons in the boys' room, that's my plan. While my friends cash checks across the land. Feeding our future, what a name. Empty buildings, still the same. Hey, hey, fraud all day. Billions gone astray. Ghost kids, no one's there. Welcome to Tampon Tim's Daycare. Tampon Tim, hey, Tampon Tim fraud.
Stuff, Jeff. Tampon Timmy's. How, and that guy was going to be vice president if indeed there was a win there, right? I mean, could you even like fathom that or even imagine that he would have been? And then this one here, Jeff, someone put this up and they said, well, some of those daycare centers at some point will have kids. And I'll have to explain this because this is a US thing, but you'll get it when you see it right away. So what this is you see the Quality Learning Center there, and someone put the spirit of Halloween. What happens every Halloween here in the States is that somewhere in a shopping center, a vacant building that they've been trying to rent forever will suddenly have a Halloween sign on, and they'll have that place stuffed with more Halloween things. They'll have hundreds of thousands of Halloween things for 2 months, and then boom, it'll be closed down again and gone. So what they're doing is they're putting up on one of these daycares the spirit of Halloween, and basically saying that yeah,
Now there'll finally be kids in the building.
Oh my God. Oh, that's funny.
Finally be kids in the building. But anyway, we went really long today, but that's what happens when you're off basically for 2.5 what was it, 2.5 weeks, Jeff. I'm glad that people showed up today. That was how nice was that? People actually showed up.
Yeah.
So it was great.
2.5
Thank having a lot of people back here again. I really appreciate you guys. 2026 is going to be one for the record books, one way or another. And if we get that $8 XRP, we'll all be pretty happy, and it means all crypto will rise, and floats all boats, as they say. So there you go. And anything you want to say in closing there, Jeff, before we get out of here?
It's good to be back, and 2026 is going to be an amazing year. We'll be back on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on The Chain.
Yeah, and probably at some point we can do in the resuming the giveaway. We had a lot of content to really cover today. Steelers and Ravens. I saw that posted earlier. I think the Steelers will win. I think the Steelers will beat the Ravens. They will take the division. We'll see what happens. But they'll be out in the first round like they are for the last 8 years, which happens all the time. And I don't know, the coach never gets fired, but there you go. That's it, everybody. We'll see you guys again tomorrow night. Have a great rest of your weekend. Chip and Jeff out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.